I mean, I had to say something, right? Hey everyone, how you doing? It's been a while. I know it's been a while, but I'm back because Zack came back. We finally got the Snyder cut of Justice League. It's no longer just a hashtag. It's an actual, honest to God movie this time. I know people have been asking my opinion on it. Did I like it? Did I not like it? Did it change my opinion on the whole Snyderverse experiment and whatnot? And I always did say I would do a video for the Snyder cut if and when it actually did come out, and here it is. This is gonna be different. This isn't gonna be like the old Wulff Den style video where it's like pre-scripted and I go into, you know, all this deep analysis and history and stuff, although there'll be some of that. This is unscripted. These are just my thoughts on the film, what I thought of it overall, and whether or not I would recommend it for people to go and watch. I did take notes on the movie, so that's gonna help with talking about it. And yes, I did use this Doctor Who pen. But enough beating around the bush. What did I think of the movie? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I knew going into the film that it was going to be better than the 2017 theatrical Justice League, just from the sheer fact that it was Zack Snyder directing and overseeing the entire movie from start to finish. This wasn't a case of somebody else stepping in and completely rewriting, re-editing, refilming a whole bunch of scenes and then trying to mash it together with what was previously established. This is one guy seeing his entire vision through to the end. And because of that, the film overall, not just the story, but the characters and the set pieces and the effects and stuff, just feels more complete and connected and cohesive. It feels like one thing rather than a bunch of things stitched together. And the fact that it is a much longer film does allow for characters and story beats to breathe and develop properly rather than just getting cut from one point to the next. In terms of the actors, with one or two exceptions in the theatrical cut, all of the actors did their best with the material, and you could really tell they were putting their all into it. With the Snyder cut, that doesn't change, but what does change is now all of the actors are bringing their A game to it. You can tell that, you know, Ray Fisher is really into the Cyborg story that Zack Snyder is trying to tell, mostly because there is a Cyborg story to tell here. And with Ben Affleck as Batman, you can see that this is right before he got his heart broken by the poor reception to Batman vs Superman and was really trying, really putting, you know, effort into his portrayal of Batman, of a Batman who's trying to not be such a grumpy, depressed lunatic anymore. Jason Momoa's Aquaman is still Jason Momoa's Aquaman. He's very good. He's a little bit more reserved than this. He's not as loud and yelly as he is in, you know, his solo film, although he still says "my man" in it, so that's all you really need. Oh yeah, there's gonna be spoilers for Zack Snyder's Justice League, just the whole thing. I probably should have said that before, but that's what happens when you don't use a script, baby. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is, again, pitch perfect. Casting her is probably the best thing Zack Snyder has ever done in this entire series. She just is that character. She embodies that character to a T. There's a moment in the beginning during the London bombing scene where she's trying to save those kids from, you know, being part of a terrorist attack, where afterwards, after she defeats the terrorists, she goes and makes sure the kids are okay, and she tells one of the little girls that, you know, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. And that's not something I'd expect from Zack Snyder. That's definitely more of a Patty Jenkins thing, especially, you know, what she does in Wonder Woman 1984. But it was nice to see, though. Odd, though, that it came immediately following Wonder Woman vaporizing a guy with her bracelets. I think the biggest surprise for me is Ezra Miller as the Flash. I wasn't expecting him to be so similar to how he was in the theatrical cut. He's very much the same character. He's still kind of like the nervous, twitchy, doesn't really know how to act in front of people, goes on these long diatribes of, you know, like he did in the theatrical cut. It's scaled back significantly. He doesn't go on about brunch, but the scene where he's applying for the job at the pet store and he's like fumbling with his resume and stuff, and the fact that he's still eating a big ass pizza right after he meets Bruce Wayne, I'm surprised that's still in there, because that's very much Joss Whedon style humor, and yet this is the Snyder cut. I didn't think we'd get any of that. Hi honey, I'm filming, just like the old days. Ray Fisher as Cyborg, like I said, again, he's definitely, giving his all. You can definitely tell he cares about this character and his story, mainly because they actually tell his story in this version of the film. It's just that there's a lot of his story in the film, and it definitely feels like he should have gotten his own movie outside of Justice League. Like, his story should have been told in a Cyborg film and not in the Justice League film. And then there's Henry Cavill's Superman. We finally get to see what Zack Snyder was going to do with the character, and Zack Snyder does not get Superman. I'm sorry, he doesn't. He comes back, he wears the black suit like he does in the comics, big whoa. And then when he goes to help the Justice League, the whole point of Superman dying and coming back was to be a different person, a changed person. But in this, he comes back and he's the exact same character he was in Man of Steel and BVS. He's this silent, stone-faced, very aggressive character. But even with that said, like I said, the action is better, the acting is better. It feels overall like a better film than what we got in 2017. It definitely is. Having said that, this is still a 4-hour rated R Justice League film, and it did not need to be either of those things. It has an R rating because this is actually a surprisingly bloody film. Like, in the Wonder Woman's introduction, she throws a guy against the wall and there's a blood stain where his head contacted with the wall. The battle scene where Darkseid attacks Earth, he gets like hit with an axe and just spurts blood. Steppenwolf bloodies a whole bunch of Amazons. And then of course there's the fact that the F word is in it, and it's not just Batman who says a naughty word, and he says it at the very end of the film, so they keep you waiting for that. One of the terrorists in the London scene has an off-screen F-bomb, and Cyborg just looks straight at Wonder Woman and goes, "Fuck the world," which I laughed at. I'm sorry, I thought that was funny. This movie definitely feels like it wants to be an adult film, a serious film. It wants to be taken seriously by people, and it did that by going for an R rating. It's not a hard R by any stretch of the imagination. It's not like Logan, but it's not, in my eyes, a justifiable R rating. The story did not warrant an R rating. And then that leads to the other criticism, though, the runtime. No movie needs to be 3 hours long, let alone 4 hours long, and especially not Justice League. There is a lot in this movie, that could have been cut or removed or altered to get it down to something reasonable, like 2.5 hours and whatnot. I'm not just talking about like whole scenes either. I understand you want to introduce as much people as possible, but Cyborg stuff could have been cut down. The scene where he's like trying to figure out his powers, he spends a very long time following this one woman around to see just how destitute and struggling she is. It didn't need to be as long as it was. There's a couple of Aquaman scenes. There's like a cameo from Willem Dafoe that doesn't amount to anything. It just sets up the Aquaman solo film, which I don't really think is necessary. A lot of shots are held for a very long time, like reaction shots or like movement shots or like establishing shots. They're held for very long, much longer than necessary. And I think that's mostly just to get like the awe and wonder and spectacle of it all, but you can tell that they're holding for much longer than they need to. The nightmare sequence, the big touted nightmare sequence with Jared Leto's Joker returning, that's at the very end of the film, and that's just indulgence. That's just, Zack Snyder was given the chance to finish this film. He just went with it. He just added this because he could, not necessarily because he should have. It doesn't add anything to the story you just saw. It just adds to the overall runtime of the film, and it just tacks on another ending to the movie. This movie has like 4 or 5 endings. It's like Return of the King, which is how many endings it actually has. Although having said that, in my notes I have here that Superman wears the red and blue suit during the nightmare scene, but for the previous, 3.5 hours, he was, when he showed up, he was wearing the black suit. So, and I know that the black suit is his regeneration suit, but the blue and red suit is the typical Superman suit. That's the suit of hope. So you're telling me that in the post-apocalypse, when there's no hope, that's when he wears the red and blue suit? This is what I mean by the movie is a very bad job of telling us one thing but showing us something very different. To be honest, a lot of the things I wrote down are, little nitpicks. I don't necessarily think Steppenwolf looks good. He looks better than he did, but he just looks like, a bunch of knives glued together. A couple of lines that I thought were Whedon additions are apparently still in here, like Lois says to Superman, "You smell good," after they, leave the battle and go to the farm. And to reiterate, I did like this film better than I thought I was going to, and in all honesty, I would probably rank it as the best of Snyder's DC films. There's definitely less of a sense of angst and anger and oppression that you felt in the other 2 films. There's definitely a sense of stepping towards the light, I guess, if to use a marketing buzz or whatnot. There's definitely a sense of hope and positivity that you expect a superhero film to radiate, not just angst and sadness and sorrow. It's a step in the right direction to be sure, but like I said, all the problems I had with the previous Zack Snyder films are all here. It's just, it's stretched out over a much longer period of time. Ultimately, if you want to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm not going to tell you don't watch it. I think that, especially if you've seen the theatrical version, you should see this, if for no other reason than to compare and contrast the two, because that is honestly pretty fun to do, to see what stayed in, what got changed. I had a theater teacher back when I was in high school say that if you hand 2 different directors the exact same script, you're going to get 2 completely different plays, and that's basically what happened here. The story of the Justice League film in both cuts is basically the same. The same things happen. The difference is in plot, which is the details of the story that get from point A to point B, and just, little things here and there. One decided to basically almost do a parody of superhero films, which is weird because he's also the same guy who made the Avengers movies. And then the other guy is trying to do basically a Renaissance painting, but in live action, and also add a lot of ancient mythology symbolism and feeling to it as well, and just make it feel more important than it honestly kind of is. But like I said, I'm not going to tell you to not watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you are curious at all, it's on HBO Max. I don't think they're taking it down anytime soon, so check that out. Maybe you want to check out the black and white version that they're going to put up, which might be the better version, although this movie is a very visually kind of a dark film. During the climax, it felt like there was a lot of black on black and dark suited characters against very dark backgrounds. So that was hard to make out, and I don't know how putting it in black and white's gonna be any better. But maybe you want to wait for that. Okay, I better hurry this up because my kid is waking up. Bottom line, I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I never have to see this again. If you're curious about it, go watch it. Just know that whatever you thought it was gonna be beforehand, that really isn't going to change, although you might be surprised because, ultimately I was surprised. But just promise me that this is it, because I don't know if I can handle another few years of another hashtag to get any more of Zack Snyder's DC films up and running. I'm good. Let me just have Robert Pattinson's Batman and Wonder Woman 3 and the next Aquaman. I'm good. And that Superman film that is allegedly coming out. That sounds interesting. But yeah, I'm glad it's over. It's good seeing you guys again. Should do this soon someday. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Oh, and next time the set's changing. You know, new year, new me and whatnot. Gotta do something different.